2025 has been a surprisingly good year for Poppy Playtime. We've gotten the Minecraft collab, the Fortnite collab, the Rocket League collab, pretty much a bunch of collabs, but also we have began the rollout for Poppy Playtime Chapter 5, and this is probably my most anticipated chapter to ever come out from this franchise. That's more than Chapter 4 and 3. Chapter 4 I lost sleep from waiting for, so Chapter 5 has to be one of my most anticipated ones ever, and for many reasons. One being that this is most likely going to be the end of the series. This is the final chapter, so of course this is going to be the biggest one ever. So I just wanted to take a second to actually give my ideas, my thoughts, and my hopes for this chapter, because this is, once again, has to be one of the most important chapters that come out from the series. And if they don't cook, if they don't put every single ounce of fucking money they have into this, it's gonna be a trash chapter and the whole franchise is cooked. But I have faith in this, so let me talk about my hopes. Alrighty, so my first hope for this chapter isn't really something you would expect, but it's more on what I want them to do with Huggy Wuggy. I've been seeing a lot of predictions and theories that Huggy Wuggy will be used as our new side character. Not as a villain, but more he's gonna be a good guy and we're gonna have to like use him as a pet or something. And me personally, I would also love to see that. That would be really cool because every single good character we have in this game is either dead or turned their backs on us. So us finally having a good character would be really nice. No, overall, there are a lot of things they could go with doing Huggy Wuggy. They could keep him a villain, they could make him nice, or they could do some stupid plot twist on where, like, maybe he's intelligent or the prototype or some stuff like that. But I don't really know. Mob Entertainment has really never, like, disappointed me to a degree, so they could probably do this right. But one thing Mob Entertainment did wrong, and that something they did wrong that everyone agrees with is wrong, is how they handled Chapter 4 of Poppy Playtime. Because it seemed really rushed when it was released. It was glitchy, the bosses didn't work, the AI sucked. A lot of the things were wrong about the game until they had to polish it up after. Not only that, the chapter is just filled with a bunch of characters who were just underutilized and died really quick. Like the Doctor, who they built up and should be one of the most important characters from the series. Because he's the dude that started the Big Bodies initiative. Like, he literally started everything. So you would think he would be a really important character, but he kind of just dies. Or let's take someone like Pianosaurus. Someone who only got like 15 seconds of screen time and then died. And he was someone they hyped up in like all of the trailers. So my point is, I just really hope they take their time with this chapter. I wouldn't care if I had to wait until 2027. I just really hope they take their time and make this the best chapter ever. And it seems that's what they've been hinting at. They've been hinting that they've learned their lesson and this will be the best chapter ever. Especially since what the CEO has been talking about. Since in his own words, he literally said this will be the most creative, outrageously good chapter they have ever made. And I really hope he's being truthful. Obviously, they got that money now since they collabed with all these random things. So I'm betting this might be a good chapter. With enough talking about all the issues and stuff, let's actually talk about the predictions for this chapter. First prediction is, what could this mystery gel be? Because in my first reaction to the trailer, I thought this weird, like, glue gel looking thing was like lava. And I assumed that because the cardboard cutout was on fire when the gel touched it. But according to a lot of people, especially like Game Theory and other big theorists, they think it's Poppy Gel, which was mentioned in Chapter 2, which is a gel that, when electrocuted, brings characters back to life. Especially bigger characters. Oh boy. A lot of people think, and myself included, is that they are going to bring back the previous monsters from this series. I will speak about in the future of this video. I really think they're leading up to bringing back previous monsters we faced by doing this, and it's not too far off since they brung back Huggy Wuggy. We know the prototype collected Mommy Longleg's dead body and the Catnap's dead body, so him having access to these monsters isn't like a lie. He literally has access to their bodies. But I'll let live action Ander talk about how I would want this series to end and what could possibly be the plan of the prototype. What I want the ending to be, right? Because once again, this is the ending of the franchise. So what would I want them to do with this? And I have two main ideas of what they could do. The first one is, since the second chapter, they've been building up on this idea that the prototype is like collecting the characters. I don't know why. When Mommy Longlegs was getting crushed, she was like, "Oh no, the prototype's gonna make me part of him." He'll make me part of him! What? Part of you? What the fuck are you talking about? And he also collected Catnap's dead body. So, obviously he's collecting them, but for what? Main theories, like game theory's idea, and my idea also, not saying that I like help with the theory, but I'm saying like, that's what I'm hoping happens, is that the prototype is collecting all of them to create like his body, kind of, and that'd be really badass to see. We finally get to see the full reveal of his body, and it turns out he's an amalgamation of just a bunch of bodies of the characters we fought against. And that'll just be a really cool way to end off the series, because now we're facing all of the monsters we fought against throughout this whole series in one monster. That would just be badass. It'd be a cool boss fight. He would have the catnap gas. He'd have the Mommy Longlegs stretchy shit. It'd be a really cool boss battle to see. And it would also be really interesting. And we could probably end it off with like a big explosion, cinematic fire like FNAF, and maybe a speech. But the second idea, which is also one I would be quite happy with, right? Hear me out. Let me cook.
Hold up. Let him...
So, we get done, and we kill the prototype, right? He gets crushed, we freeze him, or how the hell we kill him. And then, he says, like, some cold-ass final line. He's like, I always come back. Beep. And then, like, it shakes a little, and then all the monsters we fought against come out, and he, like, bandaged them up and healed them. And we have to have, like, this either boss fight or a long chase scene with all the other monsters we fought against. And we have to, like, escape the building while running away from all the monsters we fought against in the whole series. Just, like, withered or reanimated or some shit like that. That would also be really cool. Just imagine that, right? We're on top of the Playtime Co-Factory, and we're, like, running away from all the monsters and a big-ass explosion. That would be fire. I would really love to see that. So, yeah, not really too crazy, but I just want it to be, like, a fulfilling ending. It has to be something cinematic, awesome, and cool. Just like FNAF 6, or... That's kind of the only thing I can think of, FNAF 6. Yeah, I want them to do something cool. It has to be awesome, it has to be epic. Or they could do something really, like, meaningful and sad. And instead of, like, a big explosion, maybe we just, like, die. That's, like, the whole ending. We just bleed out to death. That would also be cool, but, like, I don't know. There's this guy on TikTok I keep seeing, a little side rant. He, like, really wants to fuck the player, so I feel like we'd probably have someone commit suicide if that happened, so... Back to Editor Kane. Thank you, live action A-Nerd. So, another thing I would love to talk about is what I want them to do with the gameplay in the horror. Because, once again, as I mentioned in all my ranking videos and rating videos and stuff like that, I mentioned that horror and gameplay is very important for a horror game, and especially an indie mascot horror game like Poppy Playtime. Because a lot of indie horror games and mascot horror games kind of just leave out horror, and instead just try to be really lore-heavy and scary instead of actually making their game fun. Personally, I don't think they should add another hand or anything. I think the Omni hand should be the last hand we get, but what they can do is just change what we can do with that hand. Chapter 4, when we got the Omni hand, what could we really do with it? Wow, we can open doors. How fun. So I think they could just add a different gameplay mechanic. Maybe, like, make it to where when we use it, we could shock monsters by, like, pushing a button. Or we could use it to, like, shut doors or slide through vents or something like that. Like, there's many things they could do with the gameplay. So I think they could maybe do more with the flare gun, because the only thing it's really used for is to fight off the little small smiling critters. But maybe they could use it to scare off more bigger monsters. A good example would be when we fought off the catnap hallucinations in his boss fight. They could do something like that, maybe where a monster is scared of heat or light. Or maybe even they could use the Omega hand to, like, free the orphans, because we know there's children down here. So maybe it could be used for something like that. Yeah, there's just many things they could use the gameplay for. They could change a lot of things about it, and I'm sure they will, because one thing Mob Entertainment's really good at is changing the gameplay really good enough just to where it feels different and fun and unique. From the previous chapters. But now let's talk about the horror, because shown by the teaser trailer, it looks like they're really aiming towards a really scary chapter, because it reminds me of chapter 3, which is the scariest chapter of them all, and it was really blue and dark when the teaser trailer started to release. And look at this, really blue and dark. So, not even mentioning that we're in the prototypes territory, and we're in the labs where thousands of kids have died, so this should be like the scariest part of Playtime Co. So I really hope this is true. I really hope this is the most shit-eating, fucking horrifying chapter they've ever made, and I really hope they cook with a lot of things. And I really hope they have a lot of gore in this chapter. Chapter 4 and 3 really improved on gore. It seems that every chapter the gore goes up and the horror goes up. It seems they're being more easy to experiment on how much gore and blood they can add into it. Chapter 4, we've seen bodies of people, like rotting corpses. So what's gonna stop them from this chapter to where we get to see like an orphan or someone get ripped in half from the prototype? But not even just gore. The designs of the monsters should be also really scary. Because one thing Poppy Playtime's really, really good at, and I will always defend, is the designs of their characters. They're always so fucking deliciously good. Like, I could sit here for hours and just yap about the complex designs of these characters and how they're really good. But I'm not gonna do that. Instead, I want to talk about, I hope they have the prototype as a really good design. Because they've been hinting on the appearance of the prototype since chapter 1. We've never really got to see more of him since, like, some legs and maybe an arm. He's just been a really mysterious character. So, if they've been building this up for this long, he better have a complex, badass design. And judging by the statue Catnap made of the prototype, and Ollie saying wait until you see the real one, the prototype must be absolutely horrifying. Oh, by the way, if Catnap is that small compared to the statue of the prototype, imagine how big the actual prototype is. Also, one last thing of, like, side quest, I find it really funny how the prototype is Ollie and he, like, lasers himself. It's just really kind of funny. Yeah, that's kind of just all I'm hoping for. I'm really hoping this is a upgrade from Chapter 4. I really hope they learned their lesson, and I hope this is a really scary, unique gameplay choice of a chapter. And showing by what they've been saying and what they've been teasing, this will probably be a good chapter, and I have faith in this company. There is one last thing I must talk about, and this thing is probably more important than anything I've mentioned before, and that is what they do with Poppy. You see, throughout this whole franchise, Poppy has been a really controversial character. A lot of people hate her, a lot of people love her, and she's done some pretty shitty things to us, like manipulate us and turn her back on us. But she's also done some good things, and she's justified, kind of, for what she's done. Because if we put this in our own eyes, she was a little girl who got tortured and turned into a toy, and then trapped in a box for like 50 years. A normal person is losing their shit if that happened to them. I would lose my mind. Clearly a scarred and disturbed little girl, so her doing this is kind of justified, especially since, you know, we are the only people who could stop this, and also, I mean, we did work for Playtime Co. I don't really know if we're a bad guy or not, but if we are a bad guy, that would be a really cool redemption arc, like if we save these kids. I don't really think they're gonna do anything with the player, because if he's never spoken before, or they never really done anything with him since now, why would they do it now? Why would they, oh, now our player can talk, after 4 chapters? The right decision would to keep the player just anonymous character, like we just don't know what he looks like or anything. And, you know, it would also be really scary to see all the fangirls of the players start nutting and squirting in their pants when it reveals he's like a sexy Tumblr man. But back to Poppy. I'm getting off track here. So, I really think they shouldn't kill her. I think Poppy should either sacrifice herself or just be alive. This is a really depressing game, and I would really hate if it just ends off with everyone dying. Like, that would be just really depressing. So, I hope at least there's some type of brightness and happiness about the ending. Either being that, like, Poppy escapes or someone survives, right? I just don't want this to be a really depressing ending. Yeah, that's kind of all I have to speak about. I just want this to be a really good game. I really hope they learnt from their mistakes from Chapter 4, and I hope it's a really scary one. So, yeah, if you guys liked this video, or if you disagreed with me, or have some opinions of your own, I would love to see them in the comment sections, because, surprise, surprise, I look at my comment section. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.